Um, I'm curious about the relationship that your wife, like how you guys kind of how you introduced her to your daughter, but how did you explain to Harper the diagnosis? Like, what was that conversation like, and what's her personality like? Because I mean, when I see pictures, when you post stuff, I mean, she always looks super happy, super
Yeah.
positive, and that's probably because I'm assuming that you did something in terms of the way that you communicate and the way that you approach the situation. It doesn't seem like she's scared. It
Mm.
doesn't. I mean, she probably is concerned, but how did you make that? Because it obviously was a conscious decision of how are we going to communicate this to our daughter, and what's the kind of environment that we're going to set around or create in order for her to kind of go through this, right? So tell me about that. Like, what you guys
Yeah.
decide? Yeah.
Well, in our household, we do not believe in the spirit of fear. We believe in power, love, and sound mind. So we acknowledge that it exists, but we always believe in the spirit of joy. And when we can create joy in any environment, and that goes with our stay in the hospital, we were filled with joy. And when Harper was down, it didn't get all of us down because we had a joy that was enduring, and we were loving on the nurses, we were loving on the doctors, we were dancing around the hospital. Anytime we had a chance to get out and play, we got out and played, and we had fun together. And at times where we were, and we were in the hospital for a long time, we would watch fun movies, and we
Mm-hmm.
would talk about things that are serious. But I appreciate you saying that, Danny, because it means a lot to me that you see a spirit of joy in my daughter. Because
Of course. Yeah.
it the social worker told me, and obviously with COVID and everything going on, the decisions that we need to make in a time like this, when you have your cancer patient, and who should I be exposed to, and who should mom be exposed to, are just they're daunting, they're overwhelming. And the social worker said to us, she said, Claude, you and Brianna are great parents. And you know how I can tell you're great parents? Because your daughter is a beautiful, joy-filled daughter. You're doing a good job. So be easy on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it really meant a lot. So, to answer your question, she is spirit-filled. The innocence of a child is one of the most theologically wisdom. I want to study it because
Yeah, man.
she doesn't know really what the caliber of her diagnosis is. She doesn't understand. When she says leukemia, it's the cutest thing in the world. Daddy, I can't do that because I have leukemia. And I'm just like, she doesn't say it as well as that, but it's so cute. And the time when I had to tell her, and I told you I'm a man that I'm vulnerable. And we were in the hospital. We brought her to Miami Cancer Institute, where I was in a group study down here in Ocean Reef Club in the Keys with a bunch of grown men. I had my cell phone off, and the moment I got out, I called my dad back. And my dad had called me 2 or 3 times, and the mother of my child had called me 2 or 3 times. And I decided that I was going to call my dad back first. So I called him, and he said, Claude, I went into this story about what was relevant in my world. My dad listened to the story, and he said, Claude, I have to tell you something. And I said, what? He says, Brianna's calling me, and she thinks that Harper has leukemia. And I was thinking, leukemia, okay, isn't that like Lyme disease? Isn't that
Mm-hmm.
something that's no big deal? And no, he said, Claude, that's cancer, and you're gonna have to go pick her up right away, and you got to call the doctor, and you got to call Brianna. So I got off the phone, and that's when the journey began. I went to her school, and I picked her up at school, and she said, Daddy, why are you here? She looks perfectly healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just crushed. And her mom and I and my daughter and her mom, we drove up to Miami Cancer Institute, and we got right in because my wife works for Baptist Health. Got an
Mm-hmm.
appointment with one of the best oncology doctors in all the whole world. A brand new facility, and I walked into that, and I knew that we were in the right place because I'm doing a DBA right now, a doctorate in business administration, and in my cohort, the guy who's the associate vice president of the MCI, the Miami Cancer Institute, he was one of the first people that greeted me. He gave me a big hug, and he said, Claude, I have a 3-year-old son. If this was to happen to him, I would bring him here. You're in the right hands. You're in the right place. So we walked in, did the blood test. We were all praying and holding hands. It was me, the mother of my child, and my wife together, crying, holding
Wow. So
hands, and
you
my
all went, the
daughter.
three of you.
We went, the three of us, and a
Wow.
lot of this is this, we call it blended and blessed. We're walking in this together, and it's another testament to our ability to be strong in co-parenting. So I went, once we found out that Harper, it was clear. The blood test ran again. She has leukemia. We cried a little bit. And then I walked Harper. She had to go to the bathroom. I walked in the bathroom with her, and I had the first one-on-one time with her I've had since the diagnosis. And in the bathroom, I started crying. And I said, Harper, things are going to change. And she said, I don't understand, Daddy. What do you mean? And I said, we're going to be coming to the doctors a lot now. And life is just going to be different. And she said, okay, Daddy. And I said, Harper, I need you to promise me something, that you're going to be strong and that you're going to be okay with this. And she said, Daddy, I'm going to be okay with it. And it was so cute. And really, she has been okay with it ever since. And she has showed fortitude, perseverance, innocence, love, kindness to strangers on the street. She's on my shoulders this past weekend with a shaved head, dancing and singing. And people look at us and they're probably like, wow, she's skinny and she's got black around her eyes and she's clearly going through an intense phase of chemotherapy, but she's still smiling and she's still singing. And what else can you do? What can you control? So that's sort of the gist of it. And that's pretty raw as far as what I'm, sharing with you. How does that sound? Does that sound like fun to you? Does it sound like something a father would ever want to do with their child?
I think that's the one thing that every parent is afraid of and terrified of, obviously.
Yeah, and then let me ask you a question. What do you do then when it comes into your life?
Bro, I think you do exactly what you did. You fill them with love. You get rid of fear. Kids, like you said, I mean, I see it with my own kid. Like, they're pure, unless they see negativity, like, there's no reason for it. Like, they don't know that it exists, right? Like, they're only a product of what they see around the world and the relationship that they see with you and her mom and you and your wife. And they are pure love. Like, they're pure, they're curious, they're positive, and they're much stronger than we think, and they're much smarter than we think. So what does one do? I mean, I think you did the right thing. You fill it with love, and you be honest about things. And, I mean, I got teary-eyed when you were telling me the story, because she's just positive, and she said, yeah, I'll be fine. I mean, kids are much stronger than we think. I mean, I'm sure if she saw on your faces that you were like dreary and that you were concerned and that you and your wife you and the mother of your kid started fighting, then, kids feel that stuff, you know what I mean? But if you're strong, if you're an example, if your wife is, if Brianna is, then, she feels that, and she's like, all right, well, this is my kind of, I'm going to keep the same level. So